Commander, advance the colors. You may be seated. Veterans, ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, good afternoon. My name is Master Sergeant Retired Sabrina Texera, and I'm from American Legion Post 84 here in Simsbury. I served this wonderful country for 22 and a half years before retiring from the U.S. Air Force and starting my new career in aerospace. I know I don't look like I could have done 22 and a half years, right? Thank you. On behalf of both the American Legion Post 84 and the VFW Post 1926 in Simsbury, it is my honor to be the Master of Ceremonies for this 108th observance of Memorial Day by the veterans in Simsbury. Honoring all deceased veterans on May 11th, 2024, over 1,730 flags were placed on veteran graves in Terriffill and Simsbury cemeteries by veterans and the Boy Scouts. Before we get started, I wanted to personally thank everyone that made this parade possible. My co-organizer, Rose Vigdal, where are you? She's in the back. She's my partner in crime. The parade committee, the Board of Selectmen, Town Manager's Office, Public Works, Parks and Rec, Performing Arts, well, we don't have the golf carts, but hey, thanks Performing Arts Center for having the golf carts ready. The Police Department, Fire Department, Liberty Bank for letting us get ready to use their parking lot even though we didn't need it. Same with Masonic Hall. Salter's Bus for being very patient with us and understanding we had that last minute cancellation. Special thank you to Jason Lill for coordinating the purchase of our new and beautiful Memorial Day banner from Signs Plus that's displayed over Hop Meadow. SCTV, all individuals that participated in the parade in Terriffill this morning, all that helped coordinate this parade that we had to cancel, and everyone that had assisted with the coordination of the ceremony. We greatly appreciate you, and I would ask everyone to please give a big round of applause for the custodian that worked his butt off to make sure that this room looked fantastic for us this afternoon. If I missed anyone in this, I greatly apologize to you. All our group POCs, thank you again for being so understanding of everything that we had to do today in this last minute call that we had to make. I will now call upon Rabbi Rebecca Goldman to give us the opening prayer.
For all the beautiful blessings that have been and continue to be bestowed upon us, O source of life, we express deep, heartfelt gratitude. For our homeland, a bright beacon of liberty, illuminating the path for exiles, refugees, and the oppressed worldwide, we are indebted. For our nation, entrusted with great power and profound responsibility among the global community, bearing the burden of duty with unwavering resolve, we are humbled. For the tireless courage, endless resilience, and tremendous sacrifice of those who face the harshest trials, here and in foreign lands, on wild seas and in unfriendly skies, paying the ultimate price for the freedom of all, we bow our heads in solemn gratitude. O source of life, it is in their enduring legacy that we pledge anew to cherish our homeland, to uphold our nation's ideals, and to honor the humanity within our borders. May we all draw strength from the memory of those who paid the ultimate sacrifice, and may our actions honor their sacrifice as we strive relentlessly for peace, the noblest victory of all. Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi Goldman. I would like to recognize our local and state political leaders who have joined us today. Anyone that's here from the town manager's office, feel free to raise your hand. We thank you. First Selectman, the Honorable Wendy Maxtutis, with all of the people that she has with her from her group. I would list all of their names, but she's going to do that anyway, so I'm letting her do that. Connecticut State Representative Melissa Osborne. State Senator Lisa Seminara. And thank you to everyone else that's behind me that I did not mention your name because it's not your turn yet. In 1868, rifles were shot in the air as a salute to the soldiers who had given their lives to keep the United States together. Normally, we would have a firing squad doing this right now, but we are not going to have bullets flying in the air inside of a building, so we're bypassing that. I will call upon Eli Belund and Ben Reynolds to please do taps and the echo. All veterans, you are welcome to salute the colors, whether you're wearing a cap or not. Oh my God, I'm sorry, go back, my page was flipped over. I told you I was gonna mess up. I told you it was gonna happen. Okay, now I'm back on track. Okay, I was wondering why I said hello to the dignitaries and then completely bypassed their speeches. I'm sorry, don't kill me, Wendy. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to our first selectman, Wendy Maxtutis, who will provide us with our Memorial Day proclamation.
It's good that Sabrina loosened things up for me a little bit here. Good afternoon and welcome to everyone. I'm First Selectman Wendy Maxtutis. I want to thank Sabrina for all the introductions, and to our local VFW and American Legion for organizing the Terrifil and Memorial Day events every year. We've already recognized our state senator and state rep, but I am going to name all of my fellow selectmen that are here with me today. We have Heather Getz, Diana Yeisley, Kevin Beal, and Curtis Looney. We appreciate, oh, you want to clap? I also want to call out our police chief, Nick Bolter, and our deputy police chief, Chris Davis, who I believe are the highest ranking officials from the town administration, so hi. We all appreciate this privilege of participating in this community tradition. One of the perks of being first selectman, or the chief elected official in this town, is that I get an opportunity to say a few words on Memorial Day. Since the program described this as a Memorial Day proclamation, I decided to shape today's words in that manner, so here goes. Whereas, since May 11th, 1950, the U.S. Congress created a joint resolution following World War II requesting that all presidents of the United States issue a proclamation on Memorial Day declaring it as a day of prayer for permanent peace. And whereas that still makes sense today, as we face unrest around the world, and brave men and women of the armed forces continue to give their lives serving this country in a selfless effort to create that permanent peace for all of us. And whereas they left behind loved ones who live with their loss every day, and who we want to comfort by saying, we remember them too. And we share with you our sincere condolences and gratitude. And whereas we are united in both mourning and celebration for all who serve and remain forever indebted to those who made that sacrifice so that we could live in a free country. Therefore, to all of us taking part in this annual Simsbury tradition, I hope that you'll use this day off from work and school to spend time with your family and friends and realize that we need to make the most of our life and the freedoms that we have. Our honorees are not able to do that for themselves with their families they left behind, so it's up to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Normally at this part of the program, we would be replacing a flag on the flagpole outside at the Veterans Memorial, but as you can see, we're unable to do that. However, I would like to call upon our soloist, David Moore, to please come forward and honor us by singing our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
David, thank you. That was amazing as always. At this time, I would like to invite State Representative Melissa Osborne to please come up and give us our words of welcome.
Thank you very much, Sabrina. And which one of these is actually working? This one? So thank you very much. Let's give Sabrina a round of applause for the amazing job she did putting this all together at the last minute. You pulled it off with aplomb, and if you hadn't mentioned it, nobody would know it was supposed to be outside. And thank you very much to the VFW and to the American Legion for everything you do for us year-round. And usually I research my speeches fairly well. I put in some history facts, I quote somebody, I read a little poem. But I didn't do that this year because I spent the weekend in my hometown of New York City with a family member who was experiencing a medical emergency. And I thought a lot about, I had an opportunity to write something historic like I usually do, but it really gave me a moment to reflect on the meaning of Memorial Day. And thankfully, my family member got medical intervention in time, and they'll be all right. And I don't want to reveal too much since this is on YouTube or whatever next. But this is a person who does everything for everyone else. And this is the person who is the glue of our family. They are there as a sibling, they are there as a child, they are there as a parent. And they probably got themselves into this medical situation by simply never putting themselves first, by always sacrificing themselves. And it really occurred to me as I was thinking about this situation, what our family might be like without this person in it. It made me really think about the families of our fallen heroes who have sacrificed everything. And it's almost normal for people to put themselves last when it comes to their family. We expect that, especially, let's say it, mothers. But the unusual sacrifice of putting your country before yourself, before your family. I was really struck by that this weekend. And each and every family of our fallen soldiers experiences what it's like to live life without that person who has made the kind of sacrifice typically reserved for families, for our country, for each and every family in our country, for each and every mother, daughter, father, sister, brother. And I was really struck by the depth of that sacrifice this year, juxtaposed in this health emergency for my family. And I don't think I'll ever look at Memorial Day weekend the same again. The thousands and thousands of men and women who have willingly given their lives to never go home again to a parent or a spouse or a sweetheart or a child in order to protect the freedoms that we have, in order to protect our democracy. The very least we can do is show up for a parade and for a picnic on a Memorial Day weekend, and we forget all too easily why we have this day and the sacrifices of our soldiers and our heroes. So today, I think that Memorial Day will be different for me going forward, just because of the timing of this experience and the opportunity I had to reflect on the real meaning of Memorial Day and the real meaning of sacrifice. So thank you so much to all of the families who live every day with the absence of a loved one who gave everything for us, for patriotism, and for our country and for democracy. God bless you all, and God bless America.
Thank you very much, Melissa. I would like to invite our Memorial Day speaker, Thomas Filburn, to please come up to the mic. And I apologize that this stand is so much shorter than everyone else that's coming up here.
I think Sabrina and I are the same height, so this is perfect. So I was offered the opportunity to give this speech today and was incredibly thrilled, but throughout this process I was told it has to be 3 to 5 minutes. So I chose the 5-minute end, so bear with me. I joke, but this is an important day. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. As we gather in remembrance, we're not merely marking the unofficial start of summer. We're here to honor the lives of those who made the ultimate sacrifice to our country. Memorial Day is a solemn occasion, a time to pause and reflect on the profound debt and gratitude we owe to the men and women who gave their lives to defend our freedom. Remembrance is not merely an act of recalling the names and dates. It's a commitment to carry forward the legacy of those who came before us. It is a pledge to uphold the values for which they fought and died for, values like liberty, justice, and equality. It is their solemn duty to ensure their sacrifice was not in vain. So let us not take Memorial Day as a moment just to enjoy summer, but to rededicate ourselves to the principles that unite us as a nation. Let us strive to build a world where peace reigns supreme and the sacrifice of the past paves the way for a brighter future. Let us honor the memory of the fallen, not just with words, but with our deeds and actions. So I always think about this holiday, how do I be a good American? What makes America so great? And this is my charge to you, whether you take it or not. What makes an American American? Respect. Treating others with respect, regardless of their background, beliefs, or differences, is fundamental. It includes showing kindness, empathy, and consideration in all of our interactions. Civic engagement, a big one. We'll see it coming up this fall, right? actively participating in the democratic process through voting, but also staying informed both in local and national politics, engaging in constructive dialogue with your neighbors, community involvement, volunteering, sharing your time, your resources to support local initiatives, whether it's participating in neighborhood cleanups, whether it's shelters, whether it's helping out in community events or supporting sports. Remember to consider those. And then supporting those in need, being a good neighbor, offering a helping hand to those who are struggling or need that assistance. Whether it's through acts of kindness, providing support during difficult times, or advocating for policies that promote social justice and equality. Those are all things that make us American. Today, we remember the fallen, the gift they have given us, the soldiers, the sailors, the airmen, and the Marines who laid down their lives so that we enjoy and exercise those freedoms and continue to carry those forth. We think of their families they left behind, the spouses, parents, children who bear the burden of their loss every day, and we honor their sacrifice by being good Americans going forward every single day. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful speech. You know, Tom, I feel like somehow you ESP'd me because that's what I did to my husband at our wedding. When I was giving our vows, I actually had a whole string of something running down, and I think I scared the bejesus out of him. So thank you, because that was fantastic. I would like to call upon the children from Latimer Lane School in Simsbury to sing God Bless America. Wow, that was amazing. Can we get another round of applause for them, please? At this time, I would like to have Len Lanza, former commander of Post 84, to join me in presenting a history of the beautiful Veterans Memorial that is outside of Simsbury Library. And he will also join me in reading the names of the 98 fallen military members whose names are engraved on that memorial. Len?
Good afternoon, everybody. Those of you who know, I can't give my name, rank, and serial number in less than 5 minutes usually, so bear with me. I'm going to try to encapsulate 4.5 years and 161 meetings into just a couple of minutes. I'll try to keep it casual. You don't want to know all of the details. It all began with my annual summer trip upstate New York in 2011. There's a park up there with a beautiful Veterans Memorial, which had just recently been renovated, updated to include Iraq and Afghanistan. They had all of the service flags flying, and it was much more beautiful than it had ever appeared before. So I returned to Simsbury. At that point, I was the commander of the Veterans of Foreign Wars. I returned to Simsbury and at a September meeting in 2011, took the notion of doing something with our existing memorials or doing something different to update them. We had 7 memorials in Simsbury, a couple of which were completely inaccessible, a couple of which I'd have trouble finding them today. So I took it to a Veterans of Foreign Wars meeting, and I got approval from the group to pursue the notion. So the next week I took it to the American Legion meeting, and I got approval from the group to pursue the notion. You talk about naivety. There was one person who jumped up and was ready to get in and work with me from the American Legion, that first meeting in 2011. Bruce, where are you? Bruce Elliott. Without Bruce, there wouldn't have been a memorial. After 22 meetings, we picked up 2 more members on the committee. John Fox was one of those 2 additional members. So I had some assistance in my battle of ignorance. Bruce and I met with, he had a friend who was a member of the design review board in town, so we met with him and we got some bearings. We met with the whole design review committee and we got some bearings. And we met with a couple of architects. We interviewed a couple of architects. We learned a lot. Now again, we still have absolutely no notion of a design. We didn't have a location. We didn't have a penny, okay? But we kept going forward. The first site we focused on was at the Flower Bridge, the little ravine on the side of the bridge there. We thought it was an excellent spot, or at least most of us thought it was an excellent spot for a memorial. We were encouraged by the administration in town to meet with the homeowner at that site. Bruce and I spent an interesting hour or so meeting with the homeowner, who happened to be an influential political person in Simsbury. And after a couple of meetings with the group, we decided to focus our efforts elsewhere. That became the pumpkin patch. You all know where the pumpkin patch is, okay? part of the property that is the First Church of Christ. A very tiny portion of that property, I think it was part of 3 stairs, belonged to the town of Simsbury. So we began to focus on the pumpkin patch with the pastor of the First Congregational Church. That went on for about 6 months. We thought we were proceeding well until he announced he was leaving Simsbury. We needed another focus. After a lot of go-arounds, we and the Board of Selectmen came to an agreement that we would build a memorial on the site where it is now. We love it. It's great there. We interviewed, as I said, 2 landscape architects. And that's what happens when you're not accustomed to using a cane. 2 landscape architects, one of whom was Terry Hahn from Landscape Architects Design Associates on West Street. I've already said that without Bruce, there'd be no memorial. Without John, there'd be no memorial. Without Terry Hahn, we couldn't even think of having a memorial. Terry worked for us for free for 4.5 years. We established a fundraising committee, and in June of 2013, and we had a few additional members veterans who worked on that with us at the time. Our goal initially was $175,000 because we thought we were going to get bids ranging from $100,000 to $150,000. I've already said I was very naive in the process. Okay. The low point of the whole thing was when the first bids came in, we were $200 short of the lowest bid. We had $200,000 less than the lowest bidder wanted. You talk about back to redesign and reevaluate. That's exactly what we had to do. We downscaled the size of the memorial, of course. We went from 6 to 4 columns. We downscaled the number of benches and those kinds of things. And make a long story short, we had the groundbreaking ceremony in 2014, but it wasn't until we hired Mountain View Landscapes from Chicopee, Massachusetts, and in June of 2016 that we got things going. You know, where the memorial stands now was nothing but a big hole, for those of you who don't remember or those of you who were not here. Just a giant hole. We finished the fundraising with $236,000 in donations. We got a state grant to the town of $150,000. And the capital improvement budget was rearranged to give us another $100,000. So we wound up with $486,000. In the early days of planning, we were hopeful of selling 400 pavers to help us defray the cost. I'm very proud to say that today we have 750 inscribed pavers in there. So that's the long and the short of it, folks. I've tried to keep it casual and as brief as I'm able to do. Now, we're going to go right into the reading of the names. 98 names, people who are residents of Simsbury, appear on that memorial. They were residents of Simsbury when they entered military service. And every one of them died while on military service. I begin with the Revolutionary War, and then Sabrina will follow me with the Civil War. The names are in the order of death, by the way. So you'll notice that there are some families there's as many as 5 people from one family. They're not listed that way because of the death order. Elijah Phelps, Carmi Higley, Thomas Holcomb, John Brown, Daniel Moses Sr., Jonathan Pettibone, Samuel Pettibone, Jesse Cosette, Seth Case, Joseph Cornish, Oliver Humphrey, Richard Humphrey, Jehiel Bidwell, Erastus Humphrey, Roger Cossette, Thomas Wright, Elihu Humphrey, Jonathan Putoff, Uriah Pease, Josiah Clark, Benjamin Brewer, John Garrett, Josiah Higley, Daniel Barber, Jedediah Holcomb, Zachariah Prince, Elijah Humphrey, Lemuel Colton, John Fletcher, Dudley Hayes, George Merrill, and Joseph Moore.
From the Civil War, Trowbridge Prindle, Alicia Cleveland, Dwayne Brown, Edward Gorman, Joseph Toy, John Kilborn, Lucius Holcomb, Oliver Case, James Grugan, Orville Wilson, Miles Shepard, Thomas Talmadge, Samuel Taylor, Lucius Marks, Edward Prindle, Leroy Toller, Wharton Goddard, Hosea Case, Charles Tissellant, George Shepard, John Jones, Curtis Bacon, Orlando Bringmid, John Meal, Robert Ballantyne, James Wells, Richard Sizer, Thomas Andrus, Christopher Johnson, Felix Main, Charles Hudson, William Johnson, Albert Kahn, William Mahar, William Jackson, James McKinney, Gustavus Straubel.
From World War I, Joseph Tamalonis, Jeremiah Leahy, David Galloway, Frederick Weed, George Hall. World War II, Joe Dembrowski, Merwin Shagnon, Harrison Potoski, Frank Strider, Clinton Perno, Silvio Salvatore, Carlton Sawyer, Amy Voiland, Gordon Tatro, Robert Condon, Leon Hoppy, Arthur Skanakia, David Spatcher, Russell Cable, John Stephenson, Isidore Zarnowski, and Roland Levine.
From the Korean War, Leon Morand Jr., Howard Hagley. From the Vietnam War, Richard Keithline, William Markaran, Arthur Smith. And from Global War on Terror, Felix Del Greco Jr. Thank you, Lynn. At this time, I call upon April Miller to please place the ceremonial wreath. At the conclusion of the wreath being placed, please observe a moment of silence as the Talcott Mountain Highlanders will perform Amazing Grace. Thank you very much. Ooh. Got to turn that back on. How we doing? Yay! My guy in blue, you got me. Thank you. Okay, now this is the correct time to say this. In 1868, rifles were shot in the air as a salute to soldiers who had given their lives to keep the United States together. Again, we are not going to be firing rifles in here. However, now this is the correct time to ask Eli Beelund and Ben Reynolds to please play Taps and Echo. You may be seated. I call upon Rabbi Rebecca Goldman again to please give us our closing prayer for today.
Source of all, aligner of the stars, determiner of destinies, divine parent of all humanity, accept our sincerest condolences for those of your children taken because of our preoccupation with war, for feeding our basest instincts with anger and aggression, hatred and violence, for forcing anyone to make the ultimate sacrifice, for taking for granted our precious freedom. You, O Holy One who goes by many names, spoken aloud or whispered in the seclusion of our hearts, have deemed that humanity must live in freedom from fear, have awoken in us a new appreciation for our land, have inspired us to engage in the demanding work of preserving freedom. Shake us from our complacency and kindle within us a flame of unwavering devotion. Remind us the significance of a Memorial Day. Encourage us to weigh the peacefulness of this setting against the pain and terror which brought thousands who died in war to rest in countless peaceful settings around our country. Strengthen us as we face the grim task which lies ahead. May the day soon come when we can put down our weapons and reach out our hands. May the day soon come when our swords finally become plowshares and pruning hooks for our great-grandchildren to use to cultivate the land. May the day soon come when we can give our full attention to justice, to kindness, to humility. This is our prayer, offered in honor of those who have served. This is our prayer offered in memory of those who have passed. This is our prayer offered in the hope for a future of peace. Amen.
Thank you again very much. At the conclusion of today's events, the high school band will be presenting a medley of service songs We will also have the Olympic Taekwondo group doing a very quick 5-minute demonstration. Again, I cannot thank everyone enough for assembling in here. I know it's tough to ask people to come in, especially on a day that you have off, but we do need to remember what this day is really for. So again, thank you. Thank you for forgiving my stumble. After all, Mary Poppins was practically perfect, so no one's perfect. Thank you for laughing. Color Guard Commander, please retire the colors. You may be seated while the band plays.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.